Hi, it's Cecilia from Sterling Silver Canine Coaching again. I just want to talk a little bit about the difference between a command and a cue. In modern dog training, we usually use the word cue instead of the traditional term command. In traditional dog training, the dog is taught to sit, for example, by giving the command sit and then physically putting the dog in the sit position. The dog then learns to sit when you say sit to avoid being pushed around. In contrast, in clicker training and other reinforcement-based training, the cue, again, let's use the sit example, the word sit becomes, instead of an opportunity for the dog to avoid being pushed around, it becomes an opportunity for the dog to gain reinforcement, for the dog to get a treat, or specifically for the dog to get a click and treat in clicker training. And that's a big difference psychologically for the dog. With clicker training, if we're training the sit and we're clicking and treating when the dog sits, you might wonder, well, what happens if the dog doesn't sit? And what happens is the dog doesn't get a click and treat. And if the dog has been properly conditioned to the clicker and has been properly introduced to the sit behavior, which we'll talk about in other videos and in our in-person classes, then the cards are stacked in your favor for the dog responding correctly to your cue to sit. However, if for whatever reason the dog does not respond, say there's a big distraction and you haven't worked with your dog on distraction training yet, and the dog does not respond to your sit cue, nothing happens. You ignore it, you set up the dog again. If there's a distraction, you wait for the distraction to pass, you wait until you have your dog's focus again, and then you try again, and you try giving the cue again. So there is a big difference psychologically from the dog's point of view between the cue as it's used in clicker training and the command as it's used in traditional dog training. In clicker training, the cue has a long history of reinforcement built into it, and that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement history gives the cue a lot of power, a lot of positive power. Dogs are happy to hear cues for behaviors because they know that if they respond correctly, there's a good chance that they're going to get a click and a treat. And that also, one of the many positive effects of clicker training is it creates a strong positive relationship between you and your dog because of the consistent, long reinforcement history that you develop during the training process. So, all that is really awesome, but also what it does is it will get you the well-mannered pet, the pet that responds when you ask it to do things, which I know is what a lot of us really want. But clicker training offers so much more in addition to that. As far as developing a well-mannered pet, clicker training is the fastest way to do it. That's one of the many benefits of clicker training over more traditional training methods, is that dogs learn very quickly through clicker training at amazing speeds. What can take years to teach a dog through traditional methods, a clicker trained dog can learn in a day sometimes, or in minutes. It's really amazing once you get into it and you learn how to do it. And it's a skill you have to develop.